Joining us now in the studio, Senator Nicole Akins-Boyd. The senator represents Lafayette and Panola counties, serving as the chair of the Senate Study Group on Women, Children, and Families, also the vice chair of the Senate Universities and Colleges Committee. Senator, always good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So you guys, I believe this was commissioned, this Senate Study Committee, correct me if I'm wrong here, by the Lieutenant Governor, Delbert Hosemann, not so long ago, right? A few weeks ago.
That's right. So we had been working on a number of issues in the Senate last session, particularly in regards to, we looked at postpartum, we were looking at early intervention issues that we have in the state. And so kind of moving towards this, and we had the Dobbs case, and we know that there's going to be a lot more births in the state of Mississippi as a result of that. And we were wanting to take a comprehensive look at how we support women, children, and families across the state. And so we have a very robust agenda to look at a number of items over the next several months before session starts in January of how we really were going to make a state that is true family friendly. And really, I think we do have many things that are family friendly in the state, but there's a lot of areas for improvement.
And you got hearings coming up too,
we
right?
do have hearings coming up. So we're in the process right now of
public hearings. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Just want to make sure that's clear. Public hearings.
That's right. They're public hearings. So September the 27th and 28th, and then we'll have them in October the 25th and 26th. On everything from mother, infant, and toddler health care. We'll be looking at all aspects of that. We're going to be looking at adoption and foster care. We're going to be looking at child support. We're going to be looking at the availability of child care and the quality of child care within the state of Mississippi, and also really looking at the workforce. How do we help mothers get back to work? We know that we have a low job participation rate in the state, and so we want to make sure that we are helping mothers, help their families, and get them back to work. And then we're also going to be looking really at a lot about early intervention.
Okay.
What we're doing and early intervention is very preventative in nature. And really when you get those issues and you attack those issues early on, you can really make a huge impact for the child and ultimately the family. So we are studying everything right now in regards to those issues. And as you can imagine, it's very... it's a little intensive right now. So one of the first things we're doing is we are looking at what does the state already do, and how good and what contracts do we have out there with those particular state agencies? Are they contracting with private providers, and what have been the outcomes of all of those different contracts they have in regards to that?
Okay.
And so we're kind of looking at the metrics of all of that process. So
are we talking about like state programs and state funding for these programs?
Yes.
And who's receiving these funds, and what are they being used for, and what kind of outcomes we're producing?
Exactly. So we're really looking at, are we efficient at doing our job? So and we're finding some things that we're really good at, and then we're finding some things that we're not very good at. And so that way, if we're pretty good at some stuff, we can put that aside for the moment, and we can focus on the things that we're doing not a great job in. And there's some things that we can do a much better job in. And we also want to do, of those state programs, and some of them that were federal programs that are kind of passed through to the state. Mm-hmm. When we have those federal dollars need to be used effectively. They need to be efficient. So we want to make sure that our taxpayers are getting the full bang for their buck on those federal programs. And I think there's a lot more people that we can serve already using those federal program dollars. And so that's really what we're looking at and seeing is where there are opportunities to make changes in programs. And really, I have to say our state leadership of the various different agencies and stuff like that has really come in. We've had meetings this week. We'll be having meetings next week, but I've had conversations with all of them now, and they've really come in very open-armed at this point and said, okay, here are the things we really think we need to look at. Here are the things that are on the table. And so I've been very pleased and very optimistic by the meetings that we've had so far and the conversations that we've had so far, is everybody recognizes that we have some opportunities to really make some changes that could be some really good changes for the state of Mississippi.
Do you believe, Senator, that this is a direct result, the commissioning of this group, this study group, of the Dobbs decision?
Well, I think it precipitated the urgency of it.
Okay.
This might have been something that maybe we studied. These were issues we actually already had been looking at this in the Senate, like a number of issues pre-Dobbs. But we have an urgent need to do this because we know that statistically we're going to have, and we know that we're going to have a lot more babies born in the state.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a lot more children that we need to make sure that we are providing opportunities for those children. But we really need to really look at that mother as well, because that mother is going to be that primary caregiver in that home in many households in the state of Mississippi. And we want to make sure that we're looking at her job opportunities and her child care opportunities. And we want to get her, we want this mother to be able to further her education. And so, people were surprised. We're going to have Accelerate testify. They're looking at issues. We've been looking at issues in other states where they've been able to kind of leverage some federal Perkins dollars for child care training programs. For child care while the family is in job training programs.
Okay.
And so you want to figure out how we leverage as much as possible so that we're ultimately creating better economic opportunities for these women to further their education and further their job skills.
Well, and one of the things that comes to mind, Senator, is Attorney General Lynn Fitch, really since the decision was handed down, and to some extent even before it, has been delivering a very consistent, strong message. She did it again at the Neshoba County Fair when she spoke, and then on our program, that the heavy lifting really starts now. That we can't just say that, okay, we got the outcome, we saw it with respect to the Dobbs decision, we can wash our hands and say, okay, that job's complete. That we've got to be more responsive and come up with more ideas and ways to help women and through their period of pregnancy and then, of course, post-pregnancy.
And I think and her message absolutely needs to be repeated and shouted from the rooftops because the heavy lifting starts now.
Yeah.
This is something I've heard people say that they prayed for it. Well, that's great. And now I need you to take action in your local community. Yeah. Because there's going to, we have pregnancy resource centers across the state that are trying to step in. But our churches need to, across the state, really need to step up. One of my fellow legislators said, if it is not in your church budget right now of how that you are going to step up and help people, you need to ask your congregation to really look at the priorities that they're setting here because we need everybody across the state stepping up.
Interesting message. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And, this is the things we're going to do from the state level, but every community should be looking at this. They should be seeing how they're going to help in their own communities. My local junior leadership team and our local Chamber of Commerce leadership Lafayette held a diaper drive last week, really trying to put out diapers. And as mothers all know, those diapers are expensive. Yep. And so that's just a small thing. But really looking at comprehensively is how you are going to help that woman in her time of pregnancy and how you're going to help her after that time of pregnancy as well. So,
well, that's absolutely right. And, one thing that you hear from everybody, certainly I have anecdotally, I'm obviously past that stage in my life, but the cost of child care is outrageous.
It is. The cost of child care is outrageous, and we want to make sure that people have quality child care. Yeah. Because quality child care is going to enable you to be able to stay in the workforce and to be able to continue on, and that plays issues into school readiness and being able to, be prepared to go to school and have that skill set that's needed to go to school. So that's one of the things we're looking at and looking at the availability. Right now, Head Start has been a provider of childcare for the state for a lot of families, especially a lot of families who are financially struggling. And we know that almost every Head Start bed is filled.
Unbelievable. We got a break right now. Can you hang around?
Absolutely.
We'll pick this up after the break. We've got Senator Nicole Akins-Boyd in the middays Element Wealth Studios. We're talking about the Senate Study Group on Women, Children, and Families. Stay with us. Gosh, we're back in the Element Wealth Studios again with Senator Nicole Akins-Boyd, who represents District 9. That includes Lafayette and Panola counties. We're talking about the Senate Study Group on Women, Children, and Families. So, once again, we got the study group. We're going to have hearings. I just want to make sure we get that out there. Public hearings are set for September 27th, the 28th, and October 25th and 26th. Will this be at the Capitol?
This will be at the Capitol, and they will be live streamed.
Okay.
The Senate's very good about making sure that we have public access to the hearings that we're having. So these will be live streamed, but also we want the public to participate in this.
Room 216, by the way.
Right. Room 216, but we want the public to participate. We already have received. We have an email that people can email in their comments, or they may videotape themselves and send in their testimony, and that we'll have the entire committee looking at it. So it's the address that people can address those comments to, are WCF Study Group at senate.ms.gov.
See if we can get that published as well. It's kind of a long email, but WCF for Women, Children, and Families. WCF Study Group, all one word, at senate.ms.gov. So, yeah. So folks can weigh in and share their thoughts and concerns. We were just talking about the ridiculously high cost of child care. It seems like everywhere you turn, those at the age that have children that would be in need of child care, they're not quite old enough for school, for example, or maybe it's after school child care as well. The folks, the parents I hear talking about that, really complain about the ridiculously high cost. It wasn't cheap when I had children going to child care, but it is escalated from that point even. So
it's enormously expensive, and actually, there's a number of groups that are looking at that. There's a number of groups looking at the quality of childcare too. DHS and Kellogg have collaborated, and they're working on really looking at the metrics of what is a good quality childcare. That's something we're excited to kind of hear their recommendations from their committees that have been working on these particular issues. And one issue too that, as a parent of a special needs child, I hear from a lot of parents of special needs children, and so their ability to even find childcare is pretty. It's
because the child is special needs.
Because the child is special needs.
Okay.
And so a lot of our child care providers are reluctant because they don't feel like they would know how to take care of that child.
Yeah.
And which in some ways is good if they don't, if they feel like they don't have the expertise to do it. But it is really, really difficult for those parents to find child care. And so oftentimes too, you take one of the parents definitely out of the job market,
right,
because they can't find childcare. And that happens over and over again. It happened, quite frankly, when my child was younger, and developed autism, because I had to come out of the job market to take care of my child. And so you see this over and over again. And I mean, we can't talk enough about our job participation rate in Mississippi.
Yeah.
It really is holding this state back.
No doubt about it.
And so, I mean, once again, when the June numbers came out, we were at the bottom again. I think it was 52%.
Yeah. Nationally, 61, I believe.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have you think about it, we only have half the people working in this state.
Yep.
And the other half of us are trying to make up for that half. And so we have got to, we've really got to help families find that child care and see what we can do. And we're exploring a lot of options. Really, we've began looking and saying, okay, where are there more options that we can kind of help get more child care in this state? And if we get more child care, can we make it more affordable? So,
Senator, will we learn from the analysis that your study group is conducting? Will we get some data on that to learn how many parents are staying at home to take care of a child because they can't afford child care, or they got some other special issues going on, but would work if they could solve that problem?
I think you're going to see us have a great deal of data. In fact, I will be candid. We are starting these hearings off with data. And we're going to be very data driven because the numbers need to provide they need to direct us in our priorities.
Sure.
And so in fact, our first meeting kind of is working with the individuals that are really gathering a lot of data for us. We're working with the Social Science Center at Mississippi State University, and they are going to really be providing us a great deal of data. And that was one of the first meetings we had. And we're continuously going to have meetings with them to really make sure that the policies that we're really looking at are going to be, because already we've learned some things in these policies that have shifted priorities on just the little bit of data that we've really been focused on. Sure. So I think that's the thing that I think you're going to see, and that's how we're starting off the hearings, is just really pulling out that data so that as we even listen to the testimony from the different state agencies, as we listen to the testimony that's going to show us some promising programs and some opportunities and really kind of evaluate what's going on right now, hopefully we're going to have data points at every step of the way that really kind of make sure that this is grounded in good policy and science. Yeah,
rather than just opinion or anecdote.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense at this point, and I know you don't have the data, hadn't collected it yet, but do you have just a sense and a feeling that maybe our low labor participation rate is a direct result of this issue?
I think it has to play into it. I mean, we were looking at child support collections the other day, and really looking at how we do this. And we have a group that's really doing a good job at efficiency on child support collections, but when you really look at what they're collecting, it tracks very closely with the labor force participation rate.
Makes sense.
So I think you're going to see that, and that's where we really have to start as this child is born, as this family is born, making sure that we are doing what we can to provide this economic opportunities. One of the most troubling statistics that has kind of hit me is one of the things was that 39% of the children in Mississippi are born to a household where there is no full-time working parent.
Wow. No full-time working parent. Wow. So how does that household, I'll say, how in the world are they going to care for the child?
Exactly. And so they're going to do it with public assistance. They're going to do it with public support at that point. And so that's the metric. I mean, we have to look at that metric, and we've got to change that metric. If we want to grow the state's economy, we want to grow that labor force participation rate.
No doubt.
It starts when that child is born.
Yeah, good point.
And so this is why, like some of, and there's been some effective programs around the country really kind of at helping that metric. And we're trying to, see, if what those programs are, and hopefully really look at this number, because that statistic alone, because we know that a child's economic situation is one of the greatest predictors of what the success of that child.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
So if we don't change that metric, then we are going, we're behind the eight ball continuously. And so we've got to change that metric of that child, and we've got to help that mother get in that job and really get them into full-time working status.
Is the group going to collect data from other states as well, Senator, for comparative analysis and maybe to learn perhaps some best practices in the other states that they're using?
I think you're going to see that from, I think you're going to see our state agencies, kind of present some things that they would like to see changed and that they would like to see do. And we're going to make sure that, I can't stress it enough, we got to take care of this mother.
Yeah.
Because so many of our children are born into a single-parent household, and it is the mother that is going to be caring for that child. And so
typically is a mother.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's why, you've seen the Senate talk about postpartum care.
Yep.
And I think people are like, why? Why does the Senate keep harping on this? And because we know that mother is going to be one of the largest predictors of that child's success. And we are not a healthy state.
Right.
And so a lot of these women have gestational diabetes, they've had preeclampsia, they have high blood pressure.
Yeah.
And so continuing that care for a year, which will cost us about $7 million, our portion of the federal match, that is a good investment to make sure that we have a child that is being raised by a mother that can fully support that child.
Yeah. I hear you. I know that's a very thorny topic, very controversial topic.
It's a controversial topic, but, being conservative sometimes means that, as my father always said, you got to fix the roof.
I
got to,
I hear you. We'll see where that goes. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Great discussion. Senator Nicole Akins-Boyd has been our guest on Middays. We'll take a break. We got half an hour left. Stay with us.